Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and I am so freaking excited to talk to my guest today. We're going to show some serious love to the rhythm section. I've got literally probably the greatest rock drummer I've ever seen perform. I got a chance to see Ray Luzier perform in a small club. I was extremely lucky. And all I could say is when he got up, I was looking for his third leg and his third arm because I didn't think anybody could play the way he played with just two arms and two legs. It was honestly like fucking nuts. He's the kind of guy, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass because you're here, but man, you really see the difference between like what an amazing drummer does to music versus an average drummer who's good. And I was blown away, man. So it was really, I was so happy to see you play. And I just want to thank Chris Nix and Brian Allen for connecting us. Let me tell you about Ray. You probably know Ray as the drummer for Korn. He was born and raised in West Newton, Pennsylvania, which is a small town an hour outside of Pittsburgh. And he grew up on a 180-acre farm, began playing drums at age 5. And although he was self-taught, he did participate in high school jazz concerts and marching bands. After graduating in 1988, he moved out to Hollywood, California to pursue an education at Musicians Institute, graduated in 1989, and then returned as an instructor. He played with Jakey Lee in a band called Wicked Alliance in 94, 95. In 96, he joined an outfit called Perfect World Entertainment. And what they do, they put on concerts in a variety of genres with different themes. It's kind of like fun themes, you know? Like if you've heard or seen Spasmatics, they are responsible, Perfect World Entertainment, for putting that on. One of those bands that Ray was in evolved eventually after a number of iterations into Steel Panther, which Ray was the original drummer for 6 years. He then left Steel Panther to join David Lee Roth. He played with David Lee Roth for 8 years, and 12 years now he's been with Korn. Obviously, he's still with them. 2 years he played with a band called Army of Anyone, which had members of Filter and Stone Temple Pilots. And he's got a great project called KXM with Doug Pinnick, of course, from King's X, and George Lynch. They've got 2 albums. I would really encourage you, if you have not heard them, check them out. The second album, Scatterbrain, I've listened to it over and over again. Again, it's called KXM. I guess, is that K for Korn, X for King's X, and what's M? Is that George's middle initial or something?
Lynch Mob.
Lynch Mob. Okay. There you go. But check out their albums, and if you want to start with somewhere, I would encourage you to start with Scatterbrain. They're both great, but I've listened to Scatterbrain over and over again, and they have another one coming up, and we'll talk about that on today's interview. He's also played with the Hideous Sun Demons, which is a progressive rock and fusion trio formed with David Lee Roth band members Toshi Hikita on guitar and James Lomenzo on bass. In 2004, Ray released a Hal Leonard instructional DVD. Besides Korn and KXM, he's currently touring, which is where I saw them, with Korn's lead singer, Jonathan Davis, along with guitarist Chris Nix and bassist Brian Allen. If you have a chance to see the Jonathan Davis show, go out and check it out. The musicianship is amazing with the whole band and Jonathan. It's really cool. Ray is currently living in Nashville with his wife and their 2 children. Dude, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you having me, man.
So, dude, you grew up on a 180-acre farm. What was that like?
Well, 18, but let's just say it's a lot of land.
18 acres. Sorry.
Well, I'm in 118.
Oh, 118. Okay, there you go. What is that like?
It's boonies, man. It's out there, you know, and for when that's all you know for the first 18 years of your life and your existence, it's pretty pretty heavy, man. Cause you go over to your friend's house and you're like, hey, you can see your neighbor's house. And they're like, yeah, that's normal. I'm like, no, cause we didn't have a neighbor for a mile drive. So
wow.
it was very, very interesting because that's all you know. So I had a sister who was 5 years older than me, and she's throwing me up on wild horses that are kicking and, bucking, and I'm training horses. I'm riding go-karts. I'm baling a field of hay before I went to school. And I mean, it's farm life, man.
So your folks were active farmers then?
Well, we lived on the farm. They didn't own it. It was a really strange situation. They rented the house on this, but the neighbors close by, the only neighbors close by, owned the farm. So we just kind of helped them out. It was really weird. But it was also very great because I look back, and especially when you move to LA, you're in the concrete jungle, you really appreciate having a creek in your yard and having fields to ride your motorcycle and ride horses. And it's such a different freedom, and no one really understands that life unless you've lived it. You can't just explain farm life to someone. You can't. It's impossible. It's like my friends that grew up in Brooklyn in a 1,400 square foot house or whatever. That's just what they know.
Yeah. I grew up in the Bronx, so I know exactly. I'm that guy you're talking about,
you go.
To be honest with you. What, I would imagine that's where you got your work ethic though, because that shit is not easy.
By force. I mean, and you don't even, it's not like my parents were mean people. They're like some of the best, they're the best people on the planet and so supportive of everything I've done. But you're kind of just, it's natural to wake up and there's no 9 to 5 with farm work. You work at the beginning of the day. And if you go 2 hours into the dark time, that's so be it, and with that comes a wicked work ethic. And I think that's why I worked so hard on everything I've ever done. I played baseball for 7-8 years when I was young, and I always pitched and played first base. And any activity, the church youth groups I do, from skating to clear up into marching band, it seems like it puts lights an extra fire under you. You don't even know that really that your body's telling you, or your brain's telling you to like go that extra mile. You just kind of do it. I think because of the farm life, and it's pretty cool,
That just becomes your speed. Yeah, I totally get
that.
Yeah.
You can't be lazy on the farm.
Let me ask you this. Do you have, are you sort of allergic to lazy people?
Well, I go back and forth because I have my lazy moment too, where I'm just like, I feel like kicking it, but I get very nervous and uncomfortable. I'm not one of those guys that you'll ever see like taking a couple weeks off from playing and kicking it on a beach somewhere. And even though I'm getting older, it should be more of that, but it's even worse now. I have more of a fire to pursue and conquer things. And it's not, I never set out to be the best in the world. You just want to learn more. You want to, broaden your vocabulary. You want to just, soak as much in as you can as possible. So I don't really have a beef with lazy people, but it does drive me nuts when I know what people are capable of doing, and they're not living to their potential. And I'm not saying that I am. I have light years of stuff to learn and do, and I haven't even conquered a fraction of what I want to do in the music business. So, but yeah, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when I see people that are perfectly capable. They have 4 working limbs. They have a normal, because there's a lot of handicapped people. There's a lot of you don't ever know what card you were dealt with in life. That stuff drives me nuts when I see people, or they're living off of mommy and daddy's money or stuff like that. That stuff all drives me crazy, because I grew up with no money,
I'm the same exact way. I'm allergic to that, man, to be honest with you. When I see someone like that, it's just, I'm not going to be mean or anything, but I'm just like, I just keep my distance. It's just,
come on. I you're around that too long, because that negative energy tends to ooze out. So I'm always trying to surround myself with more positive. There's enough negative crap happening in life. You want to surround yourself with as much positivity as you can, and people with even a stronger work ethic than you. So you go like, oh crap, I should be doing this. I should be,
Yeah, man. You want to look up, you want to I'm totally...
You're the first guy who said, am I allergic to lazy people and not allergic to hay or grass on the farm? Because that's what got me out of a lot of farm work when I got in my teens, was
Oh,
being allergic to all the hay and grass. And my mom would go to your room, and my drums were in my room. So I just
yeah. Well, that worked.
Mm-hmm.
What made you go to MI, and what were some of the most important things you learned there, and how are these things reflected in your playing today?
Yeah, that was vital and essential to so much stuff. I mean, to this day, and I graduated in '89. So, and there was only at that time a year trade school. There wasn't. Now you can get a full blown degree. You know, take a 2 or 4 year program. There's summer sessions, all kinds of stuff. All through my high school years, I always knew I was a self-taught guy. You know, I just played along with stacks of records. That's all I ever did. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing at all. When I would just steal my sister's Ozzy, Kiss, Black Sabbath, you know, whatever records, and just try to play along with them. Well, when I got to high school, my teachers were, here's what a quarter note is, here's what an eighth note is, here's what. Then I started learning, like, oh, you can actually see music on a piece of paper, and that's how it's a little bit easier to do that than memorize 12 records and try to play them. So I always knew towards the end of high school, my parents were real big on education. My mom was a principal of 3 schools. She was a teacher for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
I have an aunt, I have an uncle, I have a cousin. They're all into education. So it's kind of inevitable I was going to go somewhere. And my mom's like, I don't care if you go to Mars, but you're getting some kind of schooling. So I found my guitar player at the time told me about Musicians Institute. And he's like, dude, Paul Gilbert, he lived 10 minutes from us in Pittsburgh.
Holy shit.
Yeah, his dad used to modify my guitar player's heads, Marshall heads.
That's wild.
The small world out there.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I have videotapes. I have old VHS videos of me in Paul Gilbert's basement watching him shred Inve songs and all kinds of, yeah, it's funny. And I'm like in 10th grade with just sitting there with my arms crossed with a Pearl shirt on and, but
that's crazy, man.
And that guy is the one that kind of said, we need to go out there, because he kept hearing about the school. It had such a hype on it. And at that time, this is mid to late 80s, where all the stuff that we wanted to do was in LA. And I said, well, we're in Pittsburgh. Why don't we go to New York? There's Drummers Collective. There's music schools out there. It's so close. And he's like, no, we got to go to LA. Well, he talked me into going out there. And then when we got out there, I ended up really liking it, because I never even went to Pittsburgh. I didn't know what a city was. I went to see the Motley Crue.
Oh, wow.
And so I never even knew what a city really was, let alone moving from 118 acres to Hollywood Boulevard, to having an apartment with someone above, below me on the side. That was a huge, culture shock, to say the least. So, but when I moved out there, I kind of liked it more than he did. He's the one that kind of talked me into it. And when the year ended, he moved back to Pittsburgh, and I said, I'm going to stick around out here. I always told my parents, as long as I'm making a living playing music and not busting tables, because I can do that in Pittsburgh, I said, I'll stay out there. Well, 27, well, now it's been 27 years in LA, 4.5 in Nashville. So,
Very cool. What made you move to Nashville?
Quite honestly, it was having our first kid. LA, I love it. I still love it a lot. I miss it. My band will always be based out there, so I get my fill of my favorite restaurants and everything. I still have a house out there that I rent. But I moved here because when our first kid popped out, I looked up in the air and went, oh, he's breathing this crap smog. And then I'm like, and I'm sitting in the 405 freeway in 2.5 hours of traffic. He's screaming in the back. I'm like, oh my God, it's like 2 p.m. And everything that used to kind of annoy me about LA magnified when my kid came into the world. And then as far as schools and everything, unless you're dropping $40,000 a year on each kid to go to private school, the public schools are not good. So it's all these factors came in. And then when Brian Welsh had rejoined Korn, he lives out here in Nashville. Okay. And when he said, I'm not going to live in LA ever. And I'm like, so I can live in Nashville. It's okay. Because I didn't want to be the only guy in Korn living away from the pack. And he goes, there's an airplane, isn't there? I'm like,
they got airplanes in Nashville too.
Yeah. Why not? So that really messed me up. And let alone, the property, I bought 10 acres out here, and I bought 3 times the size of house for what I was paying in LA.
Sure.
So that's basically it. The schools out of here are 10 out of 10, and it just, everything kind of lined up.
Very cool, man. That's great. So after you got out of Musician Institute, how'd you get your first gig, and what was it?
Well, so I got my ass handed to me big time at MI because I came in there thinking I was hot shit, basically. Yeah. And I didn't know. You're young, you're naive, and think you know stuff at 18, and you really don't. But I walked into that school like, check out this lick, check out this, and I wasn't conceited or had an attitude about it. I just thought I knew a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd get up on the big, the stage at the they called it P100, which was the auditorium. Because a lot of kids have never played under a mic'd drum kit or in front of lights or in front of an audience. So when I got up there, I just tried to own everything, like check me out, and I'd get off dripping with sweat, thinking I just annihilated the planet. And one of the instructors would go, "Your groove's pretty bad, and do you have a metronome? Because your timing's not that good, and that you're playing way too many fills." And I'm just like, "Huh? What are you talking about? Did you So,
did you not hear that?
Yeah, did you not hear that pummeling I just did?" So that was a really big rude awakening, because I had Ralph Humphrey, who played for Frank Zappa, and
oh my God,
so many people. Joe Porcaro, Jeff Porcaro's dad.
Wow.
I had Casey Sherrill, Efren Tor, Richie Garcia, Tim Pedersen, all these ginormous players. And so it was, I didn't know how to play jazz, and then I played Latin, funk, reggae, all that stuff. So I'm still opening up the MI books all of these years later because it's a lifetime thing. You can't learn all that in 1 year, So I was always the guy at MI playing with one band from 6 to 8, another band from 8 to 10, another band from 10 to 12. I was the drum slut of the school for sure,
Right.
It wasn't a bad thing. I knew I wanted to get out and play. I moved out to LA to become in a band, and I never wanted to be a rock star. I would have been nice to, but I just wanted to make a living playing drums, period. Well,
you're so it was really important to you to broaden your horizons as much as possible.
Yes.
You're like a permanent student, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm constantly learning stuff, and I learned a lot. A couple years after I graduated from the school, Ralph and Joe brought me down there and said, "Hey, I know you're only 22 years old, but we don't have any rock curriculum here. Would you write a double bass curriculum?" I'm like, "Who's going to want to get taught from me?" And they're like, "You'd be surprised," because I was always complaining there wasn't enough rock in the school, and I was a rock metalhead, So I did that. I started at 3 hours a week, and that led to 33.
That's awesome, man.
And I tried like anything. I had some original bands, one called Freak Power Ticket, one called 9.0, which was, we actually have a record on Shrapnel Records.
Shrapnel, that was a huge label back in the day.
It was, yep. And it was very respected, and you had to be a certain quality musician to play on that. And,
absolutely.
So I really looked up to a lot of people on there. So our first album came out, and we were starting our second record, and our singer quit, and I just had a lot of problems with that. But I ended up doing about another 7 or 8 records on that label with Michael Lee Firkins, Darren Householder, a bunch of people. So
God, I haven't heard that name in a while.
What's that?
Firkins, I haven't heard his name. I have that record that he put out back in the day.
You have a Howling Iguanas, that one?
I couldn't tell you the name of it, but I know I have a Michael Lee Firkins record, and I used to listen to it all the time.
Yeah, I'm on the Howling Iguanas record, all but like 3 songs. But fun stuff. Tony Fredinelli, Breakneck Speed, it's a total thrash metal record when there was no Pro Tool fixing. It's 100% me. I listen to that thing. I'm like, yikes. they let that go because, these days you don't know what's real and what's not because so many people fix it drives me nuts, So I'm kind of proud of that stuff. I listen back. I'm like, wow, that was pretty fast. It's like, it's not like the clean as I wanted it to be, but,
well, you do, give yourself a pat on the back now. I'm sure you're really clean now. You're fast, but you're clean, man. That's what I was so amazed at. It was like, an extra beat or two placed properly totally changes the whole thing, man. And I've never heard a drummer that does that. It really opened my eyes to it.
I appreciate that. I try to, my whole thing is like, you can always play sloppy, So why not try to make your playing as clean as you can? Yeah. It's okay to be loose. I don't want it to be military sounding or so tight that it doesn't have feel. But one of my pet peeves in guitar playing, drummers, anything is like, there's, slop is good when it's required and when you should be playing a sloppy beat and playing. I respect a lot of people that are very loose out there. But I kind of pride myself on really trying to pronounce everything and get it out. You know what I mean? And that's always been something. It's in my instructional DVDs and everything, is try to play clean.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. So I derailed you. First gig after MI, was it coming back to MI? And
I got off on a tangent, as I do.
No, it's all good, bro.
So the first I was around my original bands. I refused to get, quote, a normal job. All my friends were busting tables. They were working. That's fine, man. They were working at coffee shops and everything. I found this organization called American Noise, and what they did was they promoted promoted bands as a fan club. And we did Slaughter, we did Cypress Hill, House of Pain, Richie Sambora. There's a band called Kick Tracy. It's no longer around, but back when there was fan mail, I would go out and get fan mail and open it all up and stuff envelopes with T-shirts and whatever the people would order. I would answer fan mail. I was that dude, and I would play gigs with my band. I'd try to teach a couple lessons to get it going. But my whole theory was, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to work something in the music industry. So American Noise would give me backstage passes to Ozzy Osbourne and whoever coming in town. And I didn't make much money, but the experience was what it was all about, So then I tried to get auditions like everybody, I'm in a big giant cattle call of 250 drummers in line. And I'm like, great, what do I have that the other, 249 don't, because back then, especially, you don't know what they're looking for. Sometimes they want dreadlocks. Sometimes they want a black guy. Sometimes they want you never know what they're looking for. You just got to be yourself, I would always go in with that mentality, like, check me out. I'm going to pummel. I'm going to do this. And it took me years to learn that that's not the case. It's really about, it could be the simplest thing. It could be something you've said to them in the audition that sparked I got the Army of Anyone gig with Stone Temple Pilots and Filter. One of the last questions was, where are you from? And I said Pittsburgh, and they all looked at each other and smiled because they're from Ohio and Jersey.
Oh,
they really wanted an East Coast drummer, and it meant a lot to them. That's the weirdest thing ever. Very true. So what if I'd have said California? Might have still got the gig, but you never know.
Might not. Yeah.
I've lost gigs because I didn't smoke pot. I've lost gigs because I didn't do drugs. I've lost gigs because, I didn't jive or hang well with people. It had nothing to do with my playing. So there's all these factors that come into. So lo and behold, I was auditioning for a bunch of people. My original band 9.0, we did a little bit of touring on the West Coast, not a lot. We had no tour support from Shrapnel. So I was looking for a more national gig. I heard that Jakey Lee was auditioning. Obviously Jake played with Ozzy Osbourne and Badlands. I was a huge Badlands freak and Ozzy freak. And so again, here I am with 100 drummers auditioning for Jake. What the heck do I have? Well, when I have this thing, when I audition for people, I really try to research and go do my homework. Like, so obviously with Jake, I knew all the Badlands songs. I knew all the Ozzy songs backwards, and so when they gave us 3 songs to learn, the band was called Wicked Alliance at the time, and 3 songs. And I'm thinking, okay, everybody learned these 3 songs. So, and I was like, literally, I think number 47 or something that day, 50 a day they were auditioning. And I was like, they were just burnt. Jake's leaning against his thing with his head in his hand. Bass player's just leaning up against his amp. And I went in and said, they go, all right, what song you want to start with? And I'm like, man, I love that song, Soul Stealer, off Voodoo Highway record. And Jake's like, yeah, cool, whatever. And I'm like, man, cool, play that? And he's like, and the bass player's like, let's just play the songs. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then Jake was fiddling around with the chord, and the bass player's like, no, it's down here. It's a whole step down here. Next thing you know, they're trying to figure out Soul Stealer. And there was a whole new energy about the room. And they kind of stood up from their hand. No, it's like, no. And I just kind of counted the song off and went into it. And all of a sudden we're playing that song. And it just kind of added this new energy to I'm not saying that always works, but it worked in this situation.
Yeah.
we finished playing that, and we did The Ultimate Sin by Ozzy, which is one of my songs. And all of a sudden, we played one of the Wicked Alliance songs, and Jake goes, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I go, "Hopefully coming back here." And
good for you, man.
Yeah, and that's what happened. They invited me back, and I waited, and they kept narrowing down to 5 people. And they narrowed that down to 2 people, me and some other guy, and then I got the gig. So that just happened to work in that situation. I always tell people, it could be your attitude, it could be the gear you have, it could be, did you show up on time? The other guy was a minute late. There's all these factors. You don't know what they're looking for. So that was my first real tour, on a tour bus. I finally was on the bus with Jakey Lee. I was like, wow, this is cool. Playing everything from a festival to a really small club in front of 40 people, but I didn't care. I look back at the itineraries, and there's 22 shows in a row. These days, Korn will never play more than 3 without a break. And I see the 22 days in a row. I'm like, back then I was bummed. If you had a day off, you're like, what are you going to go to the mall?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh God, I hope we have 2 days off. Yeah. Like my hotel room in the jacuzzi.
Yeah, I totally get it, man.
Yeah.
You know what? God, you said something. What a disappointing thing when you said you've lost gigs because you don't do drugs. Yeah. That's got to be like shit. Damned if you do. Damn.
It's
crazy, man.
And obviously I'm not going to mention names because I don't like to slam anybody. I'm not one of those dudes that talk shit because that stuff definitely comes back to haunt you.
Oh,
but
God, yeah.
It happened more than 3 times. So one was a local band, 2 were very famous, and that's why I won't say it. But
that's crazy, man.
In the one famous band, I really wanted the gig, and I'll never forget that time. Slapping high fives after I got done playing, like this is gonna be amazing. And I was like, oh man, I think I got this gig. And we went outside, and they were passing the joint around, and it came to me, and I skipped and gave it to the guy next to me, and they kind of looked at me like, oh, he doesn't do that. And then they started doing shots of Jack Daniels, and I didn't do that. And they're like, ooh, I can feel the vibe change.
Yeah.
And it was like, and by the end of the day, it was like they're all talking. They went away and talked amongst themselves and came back, and I could just feel this weirdness. And then the bass player came up to me and goes, "Hey man, we're gonna look at some other guys, but you're definitely up there." And I'm like, okay. And there goes that.
Well, you knew what it was for, so you can't fix that.
You can't fix it. I'm not going to sit there and do stuff because the other guys are doing it. I don't really, and I have a ton of friends who have, and they fell off the deep end, and now they're in rehab. So it's like, to me, it was always really stupid to do drugs. Like, I'm not preaching or anything, but why start something if
if it's not who you are? I mean,
it's not who you are. Why do it just to fit in or whatever? I never got that. I've seen Hollywood will ruin people. I've seen it so many decades out there of super cool, good, wholesome people coming out there, and they're doing a bunch of blow with a promoter because they think it's going to take them to another level, and they only end up with divorces, drained bank accounts. They never get the gig after all, and it's a lot of sneaky, snaky stuff going on. So I always stay true to yourself, and it will prevail at the end. I don't care who you are.
Man, I think that's great advice. Yeah, that's really disheartening though. It's not like you lost the gig because you're not, if they said, hey, well, you got to go to the gym twice a week, that you could change and do. But
check this out. It's funny you say that because I auditioned for these beefcake dudes that had they were like total Schwarzenegger looking guys. And I'm like, and at that time, super skinny. I weighed like 135 and I was just like eating salads every day and just playing drums. And the guy come up and actually felt my bicep before I played. And I got so pissed that I turned the butt ends of my sticks around, and they all kind of crept up on the drum kit, like, oh, this poor kid, And I just hit as hard as I possibly could, and they all just kind of like stood back and went, whoa, whoa. But I actually were bummed that I was so skinny. So yeah, I can say I lost a gig.
Good Lord, man. Wow.
Yep.
All right. So let me ask you I'm going to throw out a couple of artists and talk about how you got the gig, Ray, or how you connected with them. And if you can talk about a cool or interesting story about your experience with them. First is David Lee Roth, but please, you got it. Chris told me to ask you to do your David Lee Roth imitation.
What are you talking about? I don't do any David Lee Roth. No. I always hang out with two of them because if there's any conversation, I don't have to be involved.
There you go, man.
Right before I left Dave, he goes, "Stay skinny, Luzier. You always have a gig." Yeah, 8 years with Dave. Yeah. Having David Lee Roth as your front man and having him as your singer are two totally different things. That's for sure.
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, some of the lower budget tours, Dave was on our bus, and then the higher budget ones, the Sam Hagar tour we did,
Yeah.
a bunch of the arena stuff, he had his own bus, and that was way more pleasant. I love the guy to death, but wow, I'd much rather be a singer than your roommate. I mean, think about it. You're living on a bus with David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't have to say anything else.
Yeah.
And I love the guy to death. He's taught me a lot. He really taught me how to be an entertainer. He's like, Luzier, you're not just a drummer. People are paying money to see you too. Put on a show. Give them a show. And he was right. You know, I hate that whole thing when rock drummers are back there and they have that waiting for the bus look on their face.
Charlie Watts. Love the guy. Great drummer.
But Charlie does what he does. And that's,
right.
You know, but he does.
I love his drumming. He's one of the greatest. But that's the first guy I thought of. And he's almost like he's bored when you look at his face, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
My whole perspective was, and Dave was right, like, if you're in the audience, what do you want to see on stage? I don't want to see some boring rock drummer back there. If it fits the gig and you're playing swing and jazz, and you're supposed to lay back, that's great. You know, I've played Holiday Inns before. I get it, you know. But if you're up there rocking out, I want to feel, you know, I want you to feel what I'm giving off, you know.
Yeah.
So Dave taught me that, and he made me sing. I wasn't really a good singer. I'm still not. I have great ears. I'm pitch perfect. I can tell you if your E string's out of tune. I can tell you if that singer's flat or sharp, but I don't have a good voice. But Dave is like, you're going to sing no matter what. And that really forced me to have another independence, because not only am I playing Hot for Teacher and Panama and Just Like Paradise and Gigolo and all his giant hits, but now I'm holding notes with a microphone in front of me while I'm bashing my brains out. So there's this 5-way independence now. You know what I mean? So, and that's my first experience with in-ear monitors. And wow, those things will let you know if you're flat or sharp. That's for sure. So, I love that. What was the question about Dave?
Like how you got the gig and a cool or interesting story.
Yeah. Well,
that you could tell without getting arrested or having someone else get arrested.
Yeah. No, all those papers went away. I had to sign confidentiality forms when I first got the gig.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I didn't know why until I got the gig. And then I'm like, oh, I see why. Yeah. Now I love him. Like I said, not ripping on anybody. But so I did a lot of sessions at that time. Jakey Lee thing was fizzling out. I did a tour with a band called Arcade with Stephen Pearcy from Rat.
Yeah.
And Fred Corey was the drummer from Cinderella.
Okay.
And my friend played with him, and Fred quit. And anyway, I finished that tour for 3 or 4 months. And then I was heavily auditioning for people, for pop, rock, everybody. And I was doing a lot of sessions. And this kid named Mike Hartman, who unfortunately passed away from cystic fibrosis. It's so hard to you know, the doctors told him he was going to die when he was 8, and he lived till he was 24. So, remarkable person.
Heavy shit.
Yeah, heavy. Remarkable person, amazing guitar player. So good that his Make-A-Wish Foundation dream was to meet Steve Vai. Well, Steve Vai came to his bedside, and he's like, I heard you play guitar. And Mike played him the demo, and Steve's like, this is insanely great. Like, you're phenomenal. And anyway, he kept battling it back and forth. Like, sometimes he would be good for a year, and then he'd be back in the hospital. Well, anyway, Steve Vai got a call from David Lee Roth. I had played on this kid's record. I played 2 songs. Greg Bisonet played on 3. You get a bunch of guys playing on this record. Greg had thrown my name into the David Lee Roth hat when I started doing the Shrapnel records. He heard about me. He goes, man, your drumming would be really good with Dave. And I'm like, I'm flattered. Thank you. I met him at MI. And we stayed in touch through the years. We both played on Mike Hartman's solo record. Steve Vai got a call from David Lee Roth saying, I want you to write with me again. And Steve's like, I'm too busy, but here's this, you got to check this kid out, 19 or 20 at the time. And Dave heard him and goes, this is phenomenal. So the 2 songs that I had played on Mike's instrumental record, Dave said, let's pull the leads. Let's rearrange the song because I hear vocal melodies over top of this. And that's so Mike called me up and goes, man, you're going to freak out. He goes, David Lee Roth loves these 2 songs you played on and wants to meet the drummer that played on. I'm like, shut up. Come on. Like Dave's been hanging on my wall in Pittsburgh since I was 10.
Right.
That Us Festival kick thing, right? I mean, it's just, that's iconic. And I'm thinking like, wow, this is, I get to go play these 2 songs with David Lee Roth. This is insane. Like, talk about a bucket list thing for me,
Sure.
Whatever that is. People could call, well, I think a bucket list, that's weird to me, but anyway, so now go down to the studio and there's Dave, he just had back surgery. So he was literally like an L. I mean, he just was bent over because he just had this back. I'm thinking, wow, he doesn't look good at all, man. And he's like, hey man, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. And I go, no, sir, I'm a fan of you.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, let's go have some fun. Let's see what you got. And while I'm in there playing these songs, he was asking me a bunch of questions like, what if I ask you to play this jazz style? What if I said shuffle this? What if I said put a fill here? Put some dough? Just bizarre stuff. And I'd play it. I'm thinking, man, he's asking a lot of dang questions. Like, I'm just hired to play these 2 songs, And again, think professional at all times. Be on your toes because you never know what's going to happen. Never those off or odd days or I had a bad day can't exist when you're playing in front of people like David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
So anyway, all the session gets done and we're sitting back there talking and he's like, good job, Luzier. We're going to work together again someday. And I'm like, well, hopefully that'll happen, sir. Complete honor. I'm blown away. This has been an amazing experience. That's it. I had another session the next day for a completely different thing. It's Latin TV commercial thing. So I was already in mind frame because I was a session guy at that time.
Yeah.
And I get a call from Big Ed Anderson, 10 a.m. the next morning, who was at that time Dave's bodyguard. If you read Crazy from the Heat, there's a lot of stories about Big Ed. He's told to New York, like, hey, Ray, hey, Big Ed here. Hey, so here's the thing. You passed with flying colors. Like, Ed, what are you talking about? You heard me. You passed with flying colors. You got the gig. I'm like, what gig? He's like, didn't you think that was weird that Dave was asking you this and that? And I go, yeah, I just thought he was wacko and just asking me all kinds of weird. And that was my audition.
Wow.
Had no idea. There was no band. There was just this.
You and Mike.
And I think because I didn't know it was an audition, I wasn't nervous at all. I was kind of starstruck meeting this guy.
Sure.
But I wasn't the slightest bit like, I got to get this gig. It was like, I'm doing these 2 songs, I'm out.
Yeah.
So that's a really bizarre.
Wow.
You don't know what people's intentions are, especially of that magnitude, and someone like Diamond Dave is so eccentric as it is.
Yeah.
You can't be normal to be that giant of a rock star.
Sure.
So, just be careful, kids. You never know what's the intentions of someone.
Well, the other thing is the fact that you were always prepared.
Yes.
Made a huge difference. The fact that you're on top of your game and you're always like, I need to learn more. I need to do better, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's your ace in the hole, man.
Yeah. Well, I asked Dave, I'm flat out when we were back in the studio recording the DLR band CD, the first full length CD that I did. John 5 was in the band at the time. I said like, hey man, what was the determining factor for me getting the gig? And he goes, well, let alone your personality was on point. I really like your shuffle, kid. And if you listen to Dave's stuff, it's got a lot of swing to it.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of shuffles. Hot for Teacher's a blazing shuffle. With all the Paradise and California Girls and all that stuff. A lot of drummers, a lot of musicians really overlook the shuffle. That's something I've always been real conscious of, is have swing in your playing. And that's told me flat out. That's why I got the gig. So he goes, hey, he goes, I knew you had the chops and licks. That doesn't concern me, So, but that led to 8 years. From 97 to 05, I had that gig,
Funniest rock star story that you could tell from that? From
Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Go through your catalog of hundreds.
Yeah. Well, I can't say the ones I want to say. They're so out there. I'm working on a book, and people are going to want to read this someday because it's you can't make this stuff up. Let's just say that.
That's awesome. I need to have a director's cut of this show.
So yeah. But like again, I'm not slamming anyone. It's just the stuff that happened to me, these experiences. Everything from the I've never been one of those guys that's like, oh, Ray made it. He's a rock star now. I still don't consider myself that. I'm a hardworking professional musician that happens to get gigs that play with big, amazing people, and I never take it for granted. But I never, my trip to this point today has been the biggest roller coaster ever. Getting promised record deals and getting the rug pulled out from you. Having a gig, losing the gig, being promised this and not getting, I never had the whole thing where like I became, this known musician and rode on this cloud like some, there's very few small percentage of people out there that get to do what I do. So,
well, you're doing it. I just think you're extreme. You go out of your way to keep a level of awareness of, here today, gone tomorrow.
Dude, like too much. My wife beats me up. Would you stop talking about? Like I told her when we met over 9 years ago. Hey, I got the Korn gig today. They could call me today and say it's over, and that's what it is.
Right.
But I still live on those terms. I don't get too comfortable. You can't.
I think that's
comfortable. You get too. I have friends that get into similar situations, and they start. Especially when they get a taste of money that they've never had.
Right.
They start buying big and they start living big, but that's just only the time being. You should be a little bit smarter than that. Of course you want to, especially when you've been broke all these years,
Sure.
I'm very, cautious of that because I think because in my 20s, I was promised things that I thought were going to happen and that you didn't. And I'm like, how could you do that to someone?
Yeah.
Well, they just,
yeah, that's just life, man. Shit happens.
Life. It doesn't matter, like I said before, how good you are at your instrument, how, the music business, like I always tell people, if you study law and you study to be a doctor and you pay your dues and you're smart and you get great grades, sooner or later, you're probably going to get a gig doing that, whether you have to move to another location or not. The music business ain't like that.
Yeah.
Be one of the most virtuoso, amazing, insane players, read a chart backwards, doesn't mean you're going to get a gig.
Yeah. No, there's no natural progression for sure. And there's nothing locked. It's not like you got a fucking pension with Korn,
No, there's no pension in rock and roll ever. I'll be playing. You'll see me at Holiday Inn when I'm 97. Is that Luzier? Yeah. Cigar mouth, playing just a gigolo.
No, but I think as a guy who's 55 and been in business 20 years and seen ups and downs, I think that's a very healthy attitude. I tend to be more along those same lines of, let's put your head down today and do what you got to do, because what you did yesterday really doesn't matter sometimes. No,
and you got to never stop working. You got to keep working towards it. You get too comfortable, that's when bad stuff starts happening, because there's no crystal ball that I know of.
I agree with you 110%, and it's much healthier. And I have found most of the guys that are at the larger part of people that kind of are successful in anything tend to be more like that, more humble. I think it's the guys that are maybe like that don't get there, that have the attitude or something. I don't know. Because I grew up in a real blue collar house, and the message I got was successful people are stealing. And it took me a while, not that I'm like successful, but it took me a while to realize that's totally inaccurate.
Yeah.
That message was delivered by somebody who has never been successful. And, that's just like that's like the guys down on the corner conversation,
Yeah.
And I have found most of the people in any professions that I've met that are successful, genuinely like successful because they're very nice, and they are hardworking.
I heard that in my first year in Hollywood, they're like, Ray, you're way too nice. You'll never be successful because nice guys finish last. And I never forget that guy saying, it was on a street too. He was like, we're walking down and he kind of, we knew each other from the school, and it just rang on my head. I'm like, I'm not going to become this idiot or a prick or get an attitude just because. Then I would see some rude people out there being successful. And I'm thinking, and they're stepping on others to get to where they need to be. And that's just, I promised myself I'd never do that method.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
You don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for it. And it's like, why? I wanted longevity, and I wanted, whether I was rich, poor, famous band, unfamous band, I I wanted longevity in what I wanted to do, and I knew there was a way to do it and not be, overbearing or being a prick to people.
Yeah. There's this guy was one of the guys in Fame, started Muscle Shoals. Barry Beckett was his name, and he, a guy who played there, a lot of session guy named name escapes him, and Mike something in I'm really embarrassed, in Nashville, but he said that Barry had a sign on his door that said, be careful of the toes of the people you step on today to get up, because they will be attached to the ass you need to kiss on the way down. And I said, that is pretty freaking clever, man. Mike Durham was the guy. Sorry, Mike, if you're listening to this. Yeah, that was pretty okay, on point.
That's pretty amazing. And it's true. It's like that. I don't care where you're at. I mean, I've been in Australia before, and I've seen somebody that I was at an audition with, and they we had a little bit of a tiff going on, and then you never know when these people are going to show up again and when you're going to need them. So the whole burning bridge thing, that's like, forget it. If you're an up and coming musician or in any business and you're burning bridges, freaking stop it now and get a better head on your shoulders, because that stuff doesn't fly, because they will remember. I don't care if it takes 10 years to come up, it will come up somewhere.
Karma's a bitch, man.
It really is, man. It really is.
David Lee story. Do you have one?
Oh man, let me think.
You sound like
I don't sound like anybody. No, he, it's so hard because he's the harsh ones are flying through my head because, let's face it, he's a eccentric human being. You can't be, like I said, normal.
Yeah.
He's him, coming up to me in the middle of a show, asking me the words to a song, I became the musical director the last 2 years, and that's a hard job to have, because like when you're the MD. So if the guitar player's stuff goes out, if his amp goes out in the middle of the show, I get a call the next day. Yeah. Luzier, what the hell happened to the guitar player's shit? Tell him to get his shit together. And just goes off on me. And I'm like, cool. But with the responsibility of learning, making sure they had their crap together before we hit the deck. Like, I wanted to make sure as the MD that the first show we played, it sounded like we'd been on the road for a month.
Yeah.
And that was really important to me. So I'd have those guys rehearsed. We'd have vocal rehearsals. It was on point. It was best of our abilities. And I'm squirming, dude. I'll be honest.
No, it's all good,
there's
man.
So many I want to tell you, and I'm just trying to be a good boy right now.
Yeah, I hear it. It's all right, man.
Let's just say it was a wild, wild ride, and I wouldn't take any of it back at all. Like I said, I learned a lot, and he definitely made me who I am today, as far as being more of a performer and not just a drummer back there, being more musical when I play. He's responsible for a lot of that. There's a video floating around, if you ever get to see it.
Yeah,
No Holds Barbecue, it's called. And we made it at his house. He spent like $1 million on it. There was Playmates, Playboy models. There was little people. There was, let's just say, a plethora there was 52-person staff working on this. And it's a crazy, crazy video. And I had to do with the music behind that. I was getting all the songs together, and really cool soundtrack for it. We were playing some Van Halen acoustic stuff to, Savoy Brown tunes, to Steve Miller Band tunes, to, really cool music stuff, but, he'd be like, put the Playmates in kitty cat outfits. Luzier, put the band in the jacuzzi. Go grab the midget and put him in a sailor outfit. And you're like, huh?
Just like random shit.
Just random, like in the mind of David Lee Roth. That's what this video is. And like whoa.
No Holds Barbecue.
No Holds Barbecue. My friends that smoke a lot of weed love it, because they're like, dude, this is better than Pink Floyd The Wall.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And for one of the things, and again, not to one of the things that's very noticeable about when you play is your effort at putting energy out. And I really respected that because I know what it takes. You know, you have to be conscious and aware of that. And I remember there was something with the lighting that night. You remember that? It was
What showed you? You were in
Tampa,
Florida, right?
in Tampa.
Oh, yeah.
There was something with the lights or something, and you were really concerned about.
Well,
you know,
Don wants this whole all red stage, and he doesn't want any flashing. He doesn't want anything. He wants people to really engulf, embrace the music and get really lost in it. Even no blackouts after the songs, nothing. Well, certain clubs have more red lights than others. That night, there was very slim amount of red lights, and I walked on deck around like, there's people paying money to see this show. You can't even see a couple of us, hardly. So I got bummed out. I'm yelling at the TM and I'm yelling at my drum tech that put some lights on. Because if I was in the audience again, I always see that perspective. If I was out. So yeah, it's funny you saw that. There's only a couple of those shows, but yeah, I'm always concerned because I do care, It's like,
but that came through, man, loud and clear. Even like how you interacted, to me, like when I see a show, music's all about an energy transference anyway. Yeah. If you're putting something out, it's a win. Yeah. As a guy in the audience, and it was, you could see that was a high priority, man. So it was awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's like I don't care if we're playing in front of 20 people or 200,000. Like it's all the same. The show you just saw, we did in front of 80,000 people at Rock am Ring in Donington, and it's a totally different thing. But I treat them all the same. I treat them like if there's two people in out of the audience, I want them to walk away going, that was really cool. And it's not about mind blowing. And like, I just want them to really feel the experience and leave there going, wow, that I got moved in some way or another, whether it be, it's not all about me. It's about the music. It's not about, what drum breaks I get or whatever. I'm thoroughly concerned from the front of house mix to light, everything, so.
Well, I think all the guys in that band are like that. Everybody was like pushing hard. So, which is
Brian
good.
Allen and Chris Nix, no joke, man. They really, I was really fortunate to have them out with us. They're really great dudes. Because that's another thing. The tour etiquette goes along with badass musicians. If you have great musicians, doesn't mean you can live with them.
Right.
We spent a month in Europe in June, and we're waking up with the dudes, and sometimes people aren't exactly the best people to hang with outside the stage, and these people happen to be all of it. So we really lucked out with them.
Man, talk about Korn. How'd you connect with Jonathan and those guys?
So after I did some really cool stuff with Dave. I did the DLR band record with John Five, and like I said, Mike Hartman and Terry Kilgore also played on that record, who's a phenomenal blues player. I did the DLR, Diamond Dave record, which was all covers. I'm really proud of that record, even though it's mostly covers. And like I said, at No Holds Barbecue, got to tour the world with a guy. I did a lot. I felt like I was in a cover band with David Lee Roth singing. It was kind of weird after a while. We kept changing guitar players, bass player. I would get a new bass player in there. I seemed to be the same drummer for those 8. I was the same drummer for the 8 years. I wasn't fulfilling my needs inside. I wanted to write more. Like I kept begging Dave to do another Eat 'Em and Smile record. I wanted to do the Vi Sheehan Bissonette record and just shred and make all these new songs up, and he wouldn't do it. And I felt as a musician, I have a lot of writing in me. I'm a guitar hack, a bass hack. I write a lot and I have a lot of music in me to get out, not only just drumming. And I wanted to do that. So when I could see Dave just kept going through the same motions, and I really wanted to find an original band again. And it's hard to start something. So I played a NAMM show. One of my longest endorsements, Sabian Cymbals, I've been endorsed with since '93.
God, that's like what, 25 years.
It's my longest endorsement. That's why I'm forever loyal to
Holy
Sabian.
Smokes.
They believed in me back when I was playing Coconut Teaser and Gazzarri's and White Room, and they really believed in my drumming. And every CD I'd get on, whether it was independent or demo, they kept a hold of, and they really followed my career. And that's rare.
Really cool.
Because a lot of people are just looking at who's famous and who's selling the most records, and they believed in me as an artist. So that never will leave my head.
Dude, but you're like very stable, man. That's pretty important.
Yeah, and I have other cymbal companies dumping piles on my porch of cake cymbals. I mean, literally because they see what I like and they're like, "What about this?" And I mean, companies I hadn't even heard of before show up. I don't even know how they get my address, but they do. But anyway, when I did Sabian live in '05, when was that? '04, I forget the year, but it was me, Billy Sheehan, and Toshi Iketa, who played with me with David Lee Roth and Hideous Sun Demons, my prog band. And I just had finished Billy Sheehan's first solo record that I played on called Cosmic Troubadour. And I ended up doing his Holy Cow solo record as well. I love Billy's one of my favorite bass players and people on the planet. I had asked him to play Sabian live with me at the NAMM show, and he said yes. And this is going to be great. And we played a couple songs off of his record. He learned a couple of the Hideous Sun Demon songs. We did some covers, made a great show out of it. Well, on that bill were Farm Fur, which contained Steve Ferrone from Tom Petty, Average White Band, and Robert and Dean DeLeo from STP. Stone Temple Pilots have always been one of my favorite bands of all time. And Billy Cobham, jazz legend.
Holy crap.
Billy was opening the night. I was closing the night. How the hell do you think I felt? Yeah. So
that's not a lot of pressure.
No, not at all. Right. So
holy shit.
We're at sound check and we're up there and one of the songs we played was really just blowing notes everywhere. And Robert and Dean are up in the soundboard in the back and they just have their arms crossed. And I'm just like, oh, they hate us right now. Because, STPs, they're beautiful songwriters, but it's not progressive. It's not at all. It's not, they do what they do and they do it great,
Absolutely.
I love them. But I'm thinking, man, they hate us because it's just, and we get done and I go back there and go, hey man, it's really good to meet you guys. I'm a huge fan and this is gonna be fun tonight because they were doing like a really funky thing with Steve Ferrone and background singers and horns and it was awesome. And so they said, what are you doing right now? And I says, well, playing with David Lee Roth. I'm looking for a band. And they said, well, we're starting a band with Richard from Filter. And I was like, oh man, I'm a huge Filter fan as a fan of you guys. And I go, please let me audition. And they're like, oh, you're going to audition. All right. Like, and I'm thinking, why would they like what they just saw? Because it was a lot of notes but they wanted fire and energy, and that was definitely a show that night that I had, so anyway, lo and behold, I went down and played at Swing House Studios in Hollywood. And they gave me 6 songs to learn. And I knew they're Zeppelin freaks. I know they love Zeppelin. And I said, which song do you guys want to start with? And Dean went into Custard Pie off Physical Graffiti, one of my favorite Zepp records of all.
It's not a common song that's played a lot either, man.
Well, right after that, I went into The Rover, which is the next song on that record.
Right.
And then went into In My Time of Dying. I mean, we just kept playing the Physical Graffiti record. And,
that's a real offbeat song, The Rover, too, isn't it?
And it's just weird. All those songs are really strange. In My Time of Dying is 11 minutes long. We were just picking parts of it. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, and they're smiling and we're just rocking out. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to play Army of Anyone songs. And we played another song. I forget what the cover was, but it still wasn't one of the AOA songs. I went to the bathroom and I came back and they said, where'd you say you're from? And I go, Pittsburgh. And they started smiling. They're like, you got the gig. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And like, we didn't even play one of the AOA songs. Like, we don't need to. I'm like, what the heck? So I go, well, can I? And I was, because I really prepared for this audition. And so they go, yeah,
little
sure.
boy, like, come on, mom.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And so
I work so hard.
Totally. So there's a song called Disappear off the Army of Anyone record that we played. And as soon as I played that, Robert goes, yep, this is the guy. And so I'm really, really proud of that record. People still discover it to this day. Your listeners, please pick it up or download it on iTunes.
Army of Anyone.
Army of Anyone, self-titled. We were the guinea pigs on Firm Records at the time. And we did a tour. We did a bunch of late-night shows. And unfortunately, it was short-lived. But
so did you have to go back to Dave at that point in time and say, hey, man, I'm done? Or how did that go down?
No, and when I left Dave, he was so cool about it and so professional because a lot of people get pissed when you leave a thing, especially when you're the MD of the band. They're like, F you, we're not, we'll find somebody else. It wasn't like that with Dave. He's like, it's hard starting a new band, kid. He goes, the door's always open. And I was like, that was very pro.
Very cool.
Very cool. So No, I didn't think of Dave because at the time they had Jimmy DeGrasso. He was the next drummer after me, and I had put his name in for that gig, along with 5 other people. And at that time, when I saw it going downhill, I'm like, okay, I need to find another gig. I called my manager. Our manager was the firm, and they also managed Korn. So there you go. See where I'm going with this?
There you go. Holy shit, man.
Yeah. And this is it. This is exactly what happened. So
holy crap.
Yeah.
See, you can't script this stuff, man.
No. And it's and if you'd have told me 15 years ago that I would have been in Korn for 12 now, I'd have laughed in your face because there would have been no way.
Yeah.
Long blonde hair, 0 tats. I don't party, the whole thing. So I call up my manager and I'm like, hey man, I can feel this thing slipping away. And I knew that STP was going to get back together with Weiland after the Velvet Revolver thing. And I can feel it, So he goes, and then I asked my manager, I go, hey, what's up with this? What's up with Korn? They have, Joey Jordison filling in from Slipknot on the tour. Terry Bozzio played on the Untitled record, one of my favorite drummers. Brooks Wackerman, who's now at Avenged Sevenfold, played on some songs. What's up with all these drummers, And he goes, yeah, they're really looking for someone steady. They just can't find anyone right now. And then I go, oh, well, give me a copy of that new record. I want to check it out. And he goes, yeah. We went on to another subject. And we started talking about something else. And I go, hey, man, keep your eye out for gigs for me because I'm really going to start looking and put my name out there. And then there was this big pause. And he goes, you know what? Jonathan really likes that Army of Anyone record. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Tell him I said thanks. That was it. Like, he goes, you should try out for Korn. And I go, why would I ever do that? That's exactly what I said.
That's so funny.
I don't do it. I don't look like them. I don't, there are 5 kids from Bakersfield that made it on this magnitude, 38 million records. They got retired from TRL. They were the only band in history retired because their video kept going to #1. I mean, it was just such a weird thing that I didn't feel like I'd ever be a part of or fit in. And he goes, well, look at Joey, look at Terry Bozzio.
Terry Bozzio, yeah.
They have nothing to do with, you'd never think that that'd be in Korn, So anyway, long story, I was on a clinic tour for Sabian and Sabian and, who was it at that time? Remo Drumheads. And I was working my way up the West Coast doing clinics for stores. And he goes, hey man, Joey's last gig is in Seattle. It's the last Family Value show. You're in Portland the day before. I looked at your schedule. Why don't you fly over to Seattle and just play with the guys for the heck of it? I go, where? He goes, in the arena. Wait a minute. I'm going to play what in the arena? He goes, we're just going to rent you a kit. And you just go up there at noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon and just, play, see what happens. So this is probably 3 weeks before this, So I'm like, immediately, because I was a Korn fan before this, never in a million years think I'd be playing with the band. I go into all my catalog and started learning cut. Of course, I'm a huge Bozzio fan, so I learned the entire Untitled record, and because I couldn't wait to get my hands around that stuff. And so as time's building up to this, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna. This is weird. This is such a weird audition because now it's just me. They're not looking at 50 drummers.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of looking, I heard about some drummers they were looking at, but there was no full-blown auditions, And so here I am. The day before my audition with Korn at my clinic, I'm literally in the middle of a song in the music store going, holy crap, I'm playing with Korn tomorrow. Like, in the middle of it, I'm going for it. And I'm just like, man, I couldn't get it out of my head. Show up to the arena. They rented me this really crappy 5-piece kit. They didn't know but it was just a garbage kit. And I'm like, man, Joey's giant kit's on this riser behind me. And the road crew's looking at me like, what the hell are you doing here? And who are you? And what? Because this is
hey, we want to make you feel welcome.
When it's the last show of any tour, all of us are already home in our beds.
Yeah.
We can't wait. Families, we're just like, don't even, you want to give it your all at the last show, but you're out. You check out. And so the crew's like, what the heck? Who are you? And I'm like, dude, all I know is I'm supposed to show up and play 6 songs. They're like, they're not going to be here. Like, they ain't coming to, what do you? And I'm like, great. Now the band's not. And sure enough.
They didn't get the memo.
Well, they're done with sound check now. And the road crew just starts trickling off. I'm sitting there in front of, in this empty arena with a hum of the PA going on, with a pair of sticks in my hand going, and an hour goes by, and I'm like, this is tough.
God. You must have been so stressed at that point.
I called the manager. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to, if another hour goes by, I'm going to take off because this is really weird. He said, hang out. This is the last show. They're coming from the hotel. They're going to be there. Monkey strolls in about an hour, 15 minutes later, eating a sandwich. Really sorry, man. This is our last show of the tour. You know how it goes. I'm like, dude, you don't have to explain. He goes, what do you know? And at that time, I knew about 33, 34 songs. And I wrote them down on this little piece of paper, and I gave it to Monkey. And he goes, you know all these? And I'm like, kinda. I go, I could probably get through them. He goes, well, let's just do the hits. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so we started playing. And there's a song called Ever Be off the Untitled record that Terry just gets to really play. And I really wanted to show them that song. And I kept saying, how about, Fieldy rolls. And we played a couple songs with Monkey and the keyboard player at the time, the touring guy, Zach Barrett, who's awesome. And then Fieldy came in, same thing, just strolling in little by little. Jonathan never did come to the audition, the singer. So anyway, I got to play Ever Be, and they're like, you can watch it on YouTube. If you type in Ray Luzier audition, it comes up, my audition on there. And,
who's recording this?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't see the cameras because I was so in the zone to get this gig. I really wanted to play with them, and I knew I could bring some power and some groove and some funk to the band, and I just really wanted to give it a shot. So when I got done with the 6 songs, Fieldy, the bass player, says, all right, man, well, we're going to go to lunch and talk it over. And usually when they say that, they're really undecided, because if you got the gig, they're like, yeah, you're blowing us away, you're killing it. So I literally was ripping my cymbals down, going, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate you guys having me out. In my head, I'm like, all right, well, I tried.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, camera comes running out of this side. The camera comes up from behind me, and you can watch my expression on there. I'm stunned because everyone's like, you didn't even act excited. I'm like, act excited. I was baffled that they just said, welcome to Korn, we'll see you in Dublin. Because you could see me at my expression. Oh, I was like, thanks, man. This is going to be great. Wow, thanks a lot. Because it didn't hit me at all. I didn't believe it. I was just kind of like, thanks. So if you watch that audition, be like, okay, you're. But then afterwards, I walk. They're like, you going to stick around for the show? I'm like, absolutely. And I watched Joey play, and the whole time I'm like, I'm going to be sitting in that chair? No way. There's no way. So a month goes by, 2 months goes by. I don't hear anything. There's no calls from management. There's no call from anybody. This is October of 2007 when I got the gig. And I'm like, I call my manager. Hey, man, what's up? Do I still have this gig? Of course you do. Why not? And I'm like, no, like, this tour starts in January. I don't even know one song we're doing. I'm assuming we're doing the hits, but I don't have a set list. He goes, yeah, they're real lax like that. Don't worry about it. You'll get something. Probably go through Christmas. And I'm like, go through what?
Christmas? Hey, yes. Come on, man. You got 7 days between Christmas and New Year's.
I'm just like, wow. So anyway, that's what happened. And then I never rehearsed one time with the band before we hit the deck in Dublin, Ireland.
So the sound check was your first rehearsal?
The day before, the crew set up our gear, and we ran the set one time because they felt bad. I kept calling the manager, when's rehearsals? When do we start? He goes, I don't think they're going to want to rehearse. And I'm like, huh? I just came from like Army of Anyone at David Lee Roth, where we rehearsed weeks before we hit the tour. We did not rehearse one time. Needless to say, I was dry heaving a storm like that first gig. You know? Then not only that, we ran the whole set at soundcheck, and Jonathan called me that night. I'm still laying in a bathtub in my hotel in Dublin going, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And John goes, hey man, do you know that song, Love Song? I'm like, no. He goes, well, we're going to take out song 2 and put that in. And then by the way, towards the end, and then he's adding songs that I don't even know the night before the first show. So dude, I fell asleep with my iPod in my ears on loop with these two songs. I woke up with them like, So yeah, so my first time on deck was completely. And Korn fans are like no other fans. You don't half-ass anything. They're in it, so they don't care. They give a crap that I was some new guy. Give us a show,
right?
So and it took some of the Korn fans years to accept me because I know what it's like. I don't want to see some new guy in my favorite band. I get it, but if it wasn't going to be me, it's going to be someone else. That band's going to live on.
Were you able to tell yourself that when you sensed some of you said, hey, it's not personal. Were you able to like tell yourself that if it was anybody else, it'd be the same reaction?
I do. And I knew that,
Okay.
Going in, I knew that they would ride me hard. I mean, I was pretty much a hired gun for the first 2 years, and I was happy with that. We did 36 countries in 4.5 months, my first tour with Korn. Countries.
36 countries in 4.5 months.
Yeah,
wow.
Think about that. I didn't know what planet I was
9
on.
countries a month.
Dude, we'd be in Dubai, and then we'd go to
crazy, man.
And then we'd go to South Africa, and then we'd go to Australia, and then I literally thought I had a brain tumor when I got home because my head was pounding so hard. And I went to the doctors, and I almost, because he's like, "Can I ask you what you do for a living?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play." And I had a shot of us playing Donington in front of 80,000 people, and my head's just boom, bashing back and forth. And I told him about the travel, and I showed him that clip, and he goes, "And you wonder why you have severe headaches?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just want to, dude, it's hurting in the same spot anyway." I didn't, but he just said, "You have severe strain. You need to relax." And
just stress.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, and not getting enough sleep, and just, people don't really know unless you travel a lot what we go through out there. It's no joke. But I still love it. So yeah, that was, and when they swore me in 2009, they said, "Well, we want to make you a member." And I'm like, wow, I was blown away because no one really knew. The original drummer left, and people keep forgetting this, especially the diehard fans. He left the band. He didn't get fired. He had a chance to stay in the band. He left 100%. So, and I still get grief about this to people that don't know the story, and that's why if anyone's listening,
say it loud and make it proud, bro. Right here.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's and like I said, if it wasn't me, it's going to be someone else.
Absolutely.
So, when they made me a member of this, the Korn fans were like, "What? Like the original guy's really not coming back now?" And again, I don't have a crystal ball. Mine's in the shop, so you don't know what's going to transpire. When I started showing up to meet and greets, that's when Korn fans were like, "Jonathan, you saved my life. Jody, I can't believe I'm sitting in front of Monkey." And they look at me and go, "Jonathan, I can't believe it." They blow me off. And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I'm still proving myself.
Hey.
After 5 or 6 years going, I freaking hated you. What I do to you? Why would you hate me? I didn't do anything to you, But I look at their back, and they have all 5 original Korn members tattooed.
Oh, wow.
All the records going down their leg. They're lifers. This isn't so. But it's some fans will never accept me, and that's fine. I understand. I get it. When I saw Alice in Chains with that Lane, I'm like, this singer's got a lot of balls, man. But you know what? They're killing it.
Yeah, he's great.
And it's like, Journey with the Parnell.
Yeah.
Come on. It's like anybody. Those are singers. I'm a drummer. It's like, but.
Let me ask you this. Once you signed up, did the whole thing like about your, that you don't look like those guys and, that's not your inherent vibe. How did you, make peace with that, or just like wash away the concerns about it?
It was weird. Like I told those guys, I go, "I don't even have a tattoo," and they're like, "That's who cares?" Like, it wasn't a thing. Jonathan said straight up, he goes, "You got the gig because of your passion and your dedication to music, and we know you're a lifer like us." And that was a huge deal. Like, he knew. Me and John always joke about it. Even this past solo tour, we're like, we're going to go up here with Walker or something. We were like joking about, like, we hope we die on stage someday. That would be the ultimate way to go out. Just right in the middle of the tour, like, "See ya, I'm gone."
Yeah.
Because we're lifers, and that's a huge deal to them, because you never know what people change. Some people are very successful in the music business, and they realize they don't want to get on an airplane anymore. They want to raise their kids, and that's fine. That's the hardest thing about me touring today, is being away from my munchkins, because you can't explain to a 3 and a 7-year-old, like, Daddy's going to go fly halfway across the world and perform, and they know me on Skype, and it gets hard sometimes,
Sure.
But it's something in the blood. Like, it's like I said, if everything would crumble tomorrow, I would still do something in music. I don't see myself going back to school at 48 and
becoming a CPA, right?
I never say never, but hey, man, look at David Lee Roth. He got his EMT license just to have it, just to say he did it.
Hey, Steve Morse is a pilot.
Why not? You know what I'm saying?
So it must have been really refreshing when you had that conversation, hey, I don't have tattoos, blah, blah, blah. That's totally 180 degrees opposite to the guys where, oh, you don't smoke weed. We can't, you can't be in the band. That's really refreshing. Like, it's not about our fucking tattoos. It's about who you are. And that's really cool.
And a couple of them didn't believe me. They're like, come on, man, what'd you do? You did coke for a while, right? And I'm like, no, I go, but I've lost a lot of gigs. So if I'm going to lose you guys, I'll lie right now. I was a complete blowhead for a decade. I'm not, you don't. I mean, but and I'll never forget a couple of my friends. I judged the drum off at Guitar Center right after I got the Korn gig. And the guy goes, can I say this? And I'm like, I guess. I go, it feels really weird because you're the first one that's going to announce I got the Korn gig at a Guitar Center drum off. Then he's like, and here he is, the new drummer of Korn, Ray Luzier. And you just saw everyone go, whoosh, like, what? And then I walk up with this long blonde hair, and I never forget one of the judges. I'm not going to say who he was, but he goes, what are you going to do now? And I'm like, about
play
what?
Drums.
He goes, your image. You don't look anything like those.
You're fucking kidding me.
No, dude.
That is so rude.
Well, I go, the original drummer had spiky blonde hair. He didn't have dreads, and because that's what I always get. Like,
no, but that's such a rude question to ask somebody.
Dude, straight up. What are you going to do now? And he goes, you're going to have to change your image dramatically. And I was just like, cool, dude. Thanks for the congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate the aesthetic advice of,
Yep.
Wow, that's such a rude, to even get in someone's business like that. You know what I'm saying? Just like to add, just, the only thing to say is, hey, man, that's great. Congratulations. I wish you the best of luck. Period. And walk away.
He's looking at my shoes, and he's like, you're wearing Doc Martens. I'm like, yeah. And I play in Doc Martens. What? It's just, it was really weird. Yeah. But
man, I'd love to, I don't want to know who it is, but I'd love to know where his or her career is at.
That's just, I can tell you exactly. They're not a professional player anymore.
Yeah.
So
isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
what did we say? Karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Solo record. Ray Luzier, Karma's a bitch.
Yeah, that's it, man. Is there anything, if you had to go back and give yourself advice, Ray, like the younger Ray, anything you might have told yourself that would have made your life easier in any way, either business, personal, music?
Go to law school. No.
Do you know John Levin?
What do I know him?
Okay, because he's Dawkins' guitar player.
Oh, that's why I know.
Yeah, he's a lawyer, dude.
Yeah,
he has a full-time law practice.
Dude, why not? I mean, look at what Rivers Cuomo, does he have a degree, Harvard degree?
I don't know.
From Weezer?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's why not?
Why not? I guess.
I mean, as a younger guy, like I said before, I would have learned more about the music business, because the music business sucks in a lot of ways. People just think like you get in a hit band and you take off, and you make a lot of money, and you buy cars and marry an auto. That's not the way it works. And I would have educated myself more on the music business, because I had no idea. I was very naive in my late teens, early 20s. I knew what I wanted to do the rest of my life, but I didn't know what it took. And I didn't know how sneaky and snaky the music business is. And a lot of your fate lies in someone else's hands that are just people like me and you. I always say, at the end of our lives, our gravestones are all the same. No one's higher than almighty than you or the next guy. We all end up in the same place. And yeah, some of us have more talent. Some of us have more know-how and have maybe lucked out and been famous. I have people almost living in their cars that have so much talent. They just don't know how to get out there and do what to do with it. And if maybe we're more educated on business and where to go with it, so that's something I probably would have done back then, other than lock myself in a room and practice. I don't regret the practicing, because I still need way more of it now. I can't imagine if I wouldn't have woodshed so much. I literally would play 6 hours a day, go home and eat dinner, and then play with my band all night. That was my life for years. And
yeah, but that's why you play the way you play, man. It's not like magic, like, oh, you got the talent gene. I mean, maybe you have talent, and obviously you have talent and you have great ears, but that's not why you play the way you play.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely put the work in. A lot of people, it's going to come to you, and some of us have more natural abilities. I mean, I've had students in MI where I felt so bad because I had tons of foreign students from Japan to Switzerland to wherever, barely spoke English. And some of them would pay for all these extra phases. And I'm just looking at them going, bless you, but you just don't have that thing.
Yeah.
There's this thing inside. You have to have this natural talent. And then you try to grow on what talent you have and try to make it even better. There's some people that want it so bad that they will just go to any school and get taught. And not saying that they'll never be successful, because I don't know that, but some are more obvious than others.
Sure.
But you definitely have to put it takes years, man. It takes, you know what I mean? Like it's mind blowing how much stuff I still learn to this day, and how much I want to be able to play. I always tell people, if you think you're at that level and you're not growing, it might be the time to do something else, or maybe play and do something else, because you're not getting fulfilled. That's what I get the most, is like, I get challenged. I have a side band with Lynch and Pinnick. It challenges me in a totally different way than Korn challenges me. And when I play on Billy Sheehan's solo record, and I get together with Brian Allen and Chris Nix, everything I do is, it's just like, wow, I get my butt handed to me somehow, in a good way.
But that's how you grow as a musician and as a person, man.
Yeah.
Do you do anything to stay in shape? Like, cause you're like an incredibly physical drummer.
I eat a lot of Ben and Jerry's.
God bless you, man. I wish I could do that.
Peanut butter. No, I do have a wicked sweet tooth, and it's really bad, because I thought when I got older that it would go away, because I don't do any substance. I never smoked a cigarette. I need something. I have some kind of vice, and that's sugar, and it's so bad for you. But unfortunately, if you go on my bus on the Korn tour, you'll see 9 pints of Ben and Jerry's in the freezer. You'll see tons of European chocolate bars in the fridge. I mean, dude, I'll sit there with a tub of peanut butter with the Euro chocolate bar, dark chocolate, and just sit there and I'll just throw down. That's just,
man, I wish I had your metabolism.
But the thing is, I'm just like everybody else. I gotta, if I'm not, like, I'm home now and I don't crank in my studio like I do live. So I will put on the pounds. I gotta watch, but I don't go to the gym. I don't work out. My wife's a huge boxer. She loves it. She does all kinds of, she's very fit, and she eats right. I try to eat right. I try to eat what I want, just smaller portions. So I put on the weight, because I'm a half Italian, man. I'll throw down Italian food.
But you don't do anything to keep, but your drumming is what keeps you in shape.
Drumming and the kids, man. I mean, I being a father like this, I waited till I was 40 to have my first kid, and it's no joke, man. They run me. Like, I will go to jump houses with them. I will go to Chuck E. Cheese. I will go to a park, and I'm running with them, literally. Yeah. So when I'm home, that's a different kind of workout, but I don't belong to a gym. I just try to eat what my wife does, so I don't, try to fast food, all that,
Desert Island Discs. What would you pick? Top 3?
Oh, I thought I'm like, I was never in that band.
No.
Like, that's a really crazy band name. Man, I get asked that sometimes, and I don't. I have such my mood swings and stuff. My musical taste change all the time.
Oh, just for today, man. This is not like like a knee jerk just for this minute, even.
This second, Zeppelin Graffiti. I'm back on that kick again. There's times where I'll go 2 years where I can't listen to one Zeppelin song, or I want to, punch a wall. I can't stand it. Right now, I'm back on that Zeppelin kick. I love it. I'm in the studio with producer Michael Wagner right now. It's done 110
Scorpions. Yeah, he's done those.
And he gave me the Bonham tracks that I've been wanting for a while. There's even more. Some of these Bonham tracks are going around that are outtakes, but he has got a ton of them. And he gave me a CD, and I just got complete boner of everything again. So that, I would say that one. Man, stumped. I'm thinking of my catalog I have. I would say, man, no, I'm not going to say that one. I'll look at it. Look for it right now. I'm still a Kiss freak. People laugh at me, and I don't care. You can laugh and cut on that band all you want. I play drums today because of Kiss, and had a big conversation with John Five about that.
Loads of players tell me that.
Yeah,
loads. It's Kiss is number 2 after the Beatles, actually.
My Korn band does not get it. Jonathan's like, "Are you serious, Ray? How could you even like one song of theirs?" I'm like one song? I was them for Halloween for 10 years. I was. It's more of an obsession with what the character was than I was. They write good songs. You know what I mean? You're not. The lyrical content isn't exactly the most intelligent thing you've ever heard, but it's the whole vibe of the whole package.
Yeah, man. It's how you feel when you hear it.
Right. So I'll say Kiss Love Gun. And let me say Rush Moving Pictures.
Great album, man.
Yeah. That's for right now. I mean, I change, like I said, all the time,
Yeah, that's an impossible question to answer, like in a permanent level.
Right.
For anybody, I think that's a music fan.
Yeah.
Man, what's the most important thing you've learned about yourself through all this, through your career and just through life in general? Just stay true to yourself. To be a good person. Don't change because we talked about that before. To get in some situation or not, I always found that the truth prevails in the very end. If you're a good person, if you're a solid person, and there's no bullshit, and if you don't promote the bullshit, the better you are in the final. I'm not saying I'm a saint by any means, but I really do try to live by, how do I want people to treat me? And that gets hard because especially you live in Los Angeles. You said you're from New York. You know how the streets can be tough. Like there's a lot of things where I've gotten walked on so many times in LA where I've been good to someone and they've stabbed me in the back where you're like, if you don't put a little bit of shell over top, you protect yourself. It's tough to sometimes figure out when to open up that shell though. At least I've had that. It is tough.
Yep. I mean, but with that, I still think, and I try to raise my kids the same way and as I was raised, with a lot of love, a lot of trust, a lot of educate yourself on everything around you that you possibly can to prevent and avoid, because let's face it, we're living in a really messed up world right now. People plowing into sidewalks with a car to spraying bullets at a concert that people are having a great time to see. There's nothing worse than it, so it's like, you got to stay positive some way,
Yeah. You can't try to make sense of any of that shit.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I was in France this past June, and I'm standing in the spot. I'm like, why are all these barricades up? And I asked our translator guy with me. He's like, oh, that's where the car just rode into innocent people. I'm friends with Jason Aldean's band that happened. The thing happened, and we played La Bataclan, where Eagles of Death Metal played. We played there at least 3 or 4 times. You think about that shit, you're just like, I'm raising these innocent kids into this crap, but you got to teach them the ways and teach them the reality too. Because you can't be blind to that, because if you are, then you're lying to your kids. So
no, they're not going to have any coping skills either, man.
No, it's pretty bad when I have to tell my 7-year-old, hey, don't mention the word gun or bomb in your school because they take it seriously, because they will. Right. You can't say I'm going to bring, because they, they're going through the Nerf gun phase right now. Like, Dad, let's blast each other, and and it's just a weird.
You can't say let's blast each other in school. Yeah.
No, man, it's kind of sad, but oh well, what are you gonna do?
What's the most important thing your dad taught you, man?
He taught me. It's weird because my parents have both been very supportive of me. Of everything, and I think to separate them because it's been such a group effort from them since the beginning, but I think from my dad was always like knowing how to do stuff, whether he was ripping a tractor apart, a lawnmower apart, helping me with my drums, helping me, he's the guy that would, like, in the blazing snow in Pittsburgh, take me to a rehearsal, in my, I bought this church maxi wagon van from my church for $1,500. and we gutted it so I could put my drums in it. And he would drive me to rehearsals, wait for me, drive me back, drive me to a gig, wait by the door. So that's invaluable right there. Just him being that support.
Incredible support,
yeah.
man. Are your folks?
It wasn't one time where he's like, you should try something else or do something. Not once,
Are your folks still around?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Are they still live in West? Was it West Newton?
Yeah. Well, no, they moved off the farm and they moved to where my grandfather's house was, where my dad grew up. So they moved from 118 acres to 7, which they think is city life. That's like whoa, like we could acres and
Yeah, it's all relative, man, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's really cool. Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music, Ray?
I'm such a geek that I'm constantly trying to get better sounds in my studio. So that my hobbies are still music related. I don't really do. It's sad because I used to be way into sports. I played baseball for 7 to 8 years when I was a kid, and I do like sports. I'm so afraid of stoving a pinky finger being out of work for 6 months. Or
oh my God, yeah, man, that's very valid.
So I don't do much besides play with my kids, and I'd go to car shows every once in a while. I do like cars, but I'm not that exciting. I go to concerts. I see my buddies play. Hang with my wife. Go to movies. We are movie buffs and stuff like that. But that's about it. We love to travel. Even when I'm off the road, I like them to travel too. So we're always jumping, even if it's close by or jumping up. We just went to California. I flew the family out to go to Disney and
very cool.
Universal and everything out there. And I want my kids to see as much as they possibly can, trying to get them to Japan. I have to go back. I do clinics over there. I teach at 6 music schools for 12 days, 2 days in each school, up and down the coast in Japan. And I used to go 2 to 3 times a year, and I haven't done it in a couple years because Korn's been so busy. But I'm going to, they invited my family to come this time, which is very
great.
Yeah, in the next couple of months, I'm going to take them out there. So.
How cool is it that you could bring your kids to Japan? That's a great experience, man.
They're a free guy because it's like, have you been there?
No, but I have a buddy who lives there, and he's told me how completely different the culture is, man.
And I love it. I have the utmost respect for Japanese people, their work ethic. I mean, they don't look like us, they don't talk like us. They live on this little island over there, and so much gets done on that island. It's mind blowing, So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And they're so efficient with things like, waste disposal, and like they're so much more in tune with like preserving the environment, like just everybody, they respect the nature and shit like that. It's really crazy, man. And it really is. And it's hard to explain unless you've been there, but they're really, and they have the utmost appreciation for American music, and they treat you so good when you're over there. But we just have a blast. My friend, Toshi moved back there to Osaka, and that's where we start. And it's pretty. You've been there. It's 30. I've been there 36 times now. So, oh my God,
yeah, just a couple trips. So yeah, it's funny because I've been there so many times now. Toshi doesn't even have to help me anymore. He's just like, how to get on the Shinkansen and go to Kyoto, and so it's and I should know how to speak it being there that many times, but I don't. I can understand what they're saying, but I can't talk back to them. I can ask for water and where the bathroom is. That's about it.
Is that your favorite place you've traveled?
It's definitely in the top 3. Definitely.
What else?
I do love parts of Australia. It's just such a beautiful place over there. Again, on the other side of the planet. There's parts of Europe I really love too, because I've been there a lot. Korn has a hub. We have a storage space in Berlin. So I have 4 drum kits that live in Berlin. And I love the culture over there too. They do a lot of things that us Americans don't. And some are good and some are strange to me, but they do. The more time I spend there, I'm like, in America, we don't quite do it this way, or we don't have this mentality about this. And because it's funny, we had 2 Germans on our crew, and it's funny because they'll be like, "Oh, you crazy Americans are doing this again," or "Look at your president," or "Look," they're. And then the more time I spend over there, I'm like, wow, there is some stuff that we do in America that's pretty strange.
Yeah.
But then there's some stuff they do over there. I'm like, I couldn't live like that. So it's again, learning. I always tell people, try to explore. There's so much out there in the world. I have friends in Pennsylvania that if they go to Ohio, that's like, whoa, we're going to Ohio.
We're getting out of our comfort zone this weekend.
Totally. Get out. Well, and I understand that people don't have the dough to just jump on a plane to Berlin. I get it, but it really opens your mind and opens you educate yourself, because some people are so just pigeonholed into one thing and their style or no style. And there's so much out there in the world that can contribute to your life and make you more wholesome in what your way of thinking.
Yeah, totally.
So,
I never do the tourist stuff whenever I travel. I always like to go and hang out with the locals, where the local restaurants are. And you sit and talk to people. You just learn a lot by just having a conversation like this, And most
I'm always the guy going to the local coffee joint or, you won't catch me going in Paris to the Starbucks, like go to the, although I've done that before. But, yeah.
Dude, 2 questions left, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time.
Of course.
Toughest decision that you've ever had to make, Ray, or hardest or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Probably leave my family going to LA, first of all, because we had such a tight knit family. So to take off and just leave them for this new musical career that I'm doing, it's probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And because not knowing if I'm going to stay there or not, that was wicked hard, that had to be one of the hardest things ever, because I left for LA for 27 years and I had no idea that I was going to leave for that long. But I had parents and I had a family that believed in me enough, and they knew that I wasn't going to take no for an answer, and I was going to do everything it took to succeed in something in the business. So that made it way easier. I didn't have a dad or a mom going, wise up, you're never going to make a living playing rock and roll, get a real job and do that on the weekends. Because a lot of people have that mentality. Yeah. And so that's definitely one of the hardest. Well,
man, it would be really hard. I mean, as good as your work ethic is, and is like, you're not a druggie and you're so focused. It would be like, as a parent, now you're a parent yourself, you would support your kids like that, because if someone is so focused and so committed and like a good person and like not, like I said, not doing drugs and that stuff. I mean, like, how do you not?
Yeah. Well, especially because like I look back, I'm like, Ma, what were you thinking? You dropped me off on Hollywood Boulevard where there's crack and drugs and shotguns and prostitutes. And like she goes, well, we knew you had a good head on your shoulders. We knew you would make the right decisions. And especially where I was at, there was drugs laid out in front of you. I think that's what turned me off more about it. It was so accessible and so easy. And like I said, I had so many friends with drained bank accounts and their lives would go to zero.
Yeah.
And why would I want to do that? So, and I think the latest hardest thing is leaving the kids now on tour, even at this late in the game. That's got to be the hardest thing, is leaving the wife and leaving the kids,
Yeah.
So
that never gets easy.
All these years later, I'm still facing those challenges. It's like very grateful and thankful and for the gigs that I have, and I still get to make a living doing what I love to do. That's the most gratifying thing ever. But now, leaving, my 7-year-old, we went to downtown Nashville, and they have the strip where everyone plays. I call it ass against the glass. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's Broadway.
Broadway, yeah, because each band flows into the next band, flows into the next. And he's like, Daddy, I got it. You don't have to leave on tour anymore. You can just play down there. Like, yeah.
You could book Korn in a different club every night.
Yeah, and I go, see the house we live in? And we can't really live in this house. And he's like, that's okay. And I'm like, oh, you're killing me, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get it, man. He's still young. He definitely get it.
Totally. Yeah.
And last question, man. Biggest change in your personality, Ray, over the last 10 years, and how much of that change has been deliberate and how much is just a natural part of aging?
Kids definitely changed everything, because they don't really exaggerate that enough when they tell you when you bring a kid. I'm always the guy that's saying if you take a driver's test, why can't you take a test to be a parent? Because there's a lot of bad parents out there.
Dude. Yeah.
And they're wondering why there's shootings and all this stuff. These kids are raised without love. They're raised without knowledge, or so that it changed me for the better. It got me to open my heart even more than I ever thought I could, and to bring them up as best as I possibly could, and not, like I said, like it drives me nuts that some of these people are parents out there they shouldn't be. It's a very hard thing, So I don't know if that's personality related, but it's definitely
definitely
maturing and balancing my life, being a full-time musician and being a full-time dad. So it was very hard on my wife when I leave, because I leave for a month at a time or 2 months at a time. And she started a new nonprofit organization that helps.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that, man?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's called Rebel for Change. And you can go to rebelforchange.com or go on the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But she is her father's been an addict for a while. And this is to help family members who deal with addicts in their family. Because everyone's always worried about the addict. Well, what about the family members suffering, or walking alongside these people? So she started this organization that's really starting to take off, and she bit off a lot more than she could chew, because it's pretty overwhelming how many people deal with this, and people are hitting her up all over the world, for this. So, but anyway, so she's trying to be a mom. On that top of that, I'm trying to be, a full-time musician. So it's a lot, but all good stuff.
Man, I can't thank you enough. I want to talk about some of the stuff you have going on and just let people know about it. First of all, this is really cool. Korn has a brand of coffee now, and it is so popular. They've actually sold out of their first 2 batches. And I know batch 3 is on its way to being gone. So, if you are interested in checking it out, I would, maybe give it a taste. It's at Korn Web Store, KORN webstore.com. And then you just go for coffee. How did you get, anything you want to talk about the coffee or?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for whoever bought it. And those of you about to buy it. Me and James Schaefer are probably the biggest coffee connoisseurs in the band. Fieldy loves it too. Jonathan ahead, not so much, but ever since I got the gig, Korn has such a brand name. Like when you see that logo, you just know. And I would always make a joke like, why isn't there a popcorn or corn flakes or corn coffee or all this stuff? And finally, with our new management, we signed with Velvet Hammer, and they have a mutual friend that's a very successful coffee person. His name's Jeremy Guernsey. He has Guernsey Coffee. Well, that's our partner. We've teamed up with him, and we met with him several times in Las Vegas to find a formula and a taste that we all liked and we agreed upon. And there's way more into it than I thought, starting a business like that. I give it up for these people that start their own businesses or wine, drum companies, all that stuff. You really start getting into logistics and you're like, wow, it's a lot. But thanks to our management, they made it happen for us. And I couldn't be more happy with it. I'm so thrilled that it's doing so well. And now the next goal is obviously getting the word out more. It's already started to get into a couple of restaurants. There's a steakhouse at the Palms that carries corn coffee on the menu. So
at the Palms, that's like the most expensive, one of the top steakhouses in the country, man.
Totally, yeah. So that's what we want. We want that buzz. So it's not just Korn fans that buy it, but coffee lovers.
Yeah.
So started doing interviews and some press for some of those sites, and we're starting to get the word out. And the response has been great. We didn't make a ton right off the bat because we didn't know if people were going to buy it. Now we're on batch 3, and we're going to try to get a new blend out by sometime next year and just keep it going. We're so stoked on it. There's an Instagram, Korn Coffee with a K, obviously. I encourage the listeners to check that out and stay on it if you're a coffee lover.
Definitely Korn Coffee on Instagram. And then again, go to the web store, kornwebstore.com. And so a tab right there, menu for coffee.
Yeah.
Also in 2019, is it safe to say another Korn record will be coming out?
It is safe to say that. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would heavily predict that sometime in 19 there will be a Korn record, if not early 20, but I'm thinking more like 19. We're working hard, and I can't really say anything about it, but I am super stoked. And everyone always says that about their new record, but I'm, as a fan of the band too, playing just the roughs in my car, I get chills, and I had to stop listening to the roughs because I'm overwhelming myself. So I can't wait for the fans to hear this, and Yes, for sure.
Awesome. And I'm excited about KXM's has a third album going to come out in like summer, maybe.
Yes, pushing late fall or late spring, summer, I would say. We're finishing mixes right now. And again, that's George Lynch from Lynch Mob and Dokken, and Doug Pinnick from King's X. I mean, that's just right there. Doug's just, we were talking about earlier, like he should be, when I used to go to King's X shows, it was like going to church for me. Like he's the soul that guy pours out, and I'm blown away that I'm actually in a band with the guy. And we haven't played shows yet. We're on album 3. It's my fault because Korn's always so busy. Because Korn has taken so much time off, we're talking about doing a couple shows. So I have people email me going, I will fly to whatever state just to see.
That would be so freaking cool.
Yeah. So our plan is to do a couple weeks of shows and hopefully put a DVD out. So for the fans that can't come, because it's really hard to get all our schedules together, but I'm really stoked. The whole rule of KXM is we get in the studio, we write one song a day. And by the end of the day, I'm tracking live drums, Doug's tracking bass, and George is tracking rhythms. And that's it. We move on to the next song. There's no let's rehearse. There's no pre-production. We literally do one song a day and we move on. So it's very sporadic. There's no producer yelling at us, telling us what to do, what not to do. To me, that's the ultimate. So it's 100% us 3. Now, of course, Doug has to write the lyrics and George does leads after, but it's super organic, and that's what I love about these records. And the third one, it's really blown me away so far. The mixes are coming out awesome. So. And
it's, as I said there earlier, I think it's the best playing George has ever played. And I've been a Lynch fan forever. It's nothing like he's played before. And I don't want to make it sound like he's a bad player, but no, because he's not. He's one of the greatest players ever to pick up a guitar. But this is so melodic. It's so it's just totally different.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like he's getting his. Just goes to show you don't lose anything when you're 63, 64, whatever he is. He's still ripping and coming up with new ideas. And yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. And Doug is just singing his ass off. I mean,
you're the baby. You're the baby in that band.
I'm the baby at 48.
Doug, that dude, Doug is like shredded. I don't know. Every video he's got his shirt off. It's so funny. Yeah. And he's like, you know what? Props to him because he could do it, man. He's shredded, that guy. He's in great shape. He's belting. He's such a soulful voice, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Check it out. Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well.
And please check out the KXM record. There's 2, Scatterbrain, and the first one's just self-titled, correct?
And we put out a bunch of videos that go with
videos. Are totally awesome.
And we really went for it. We didn't put out like crappy videos, just like the 2 camera. Let's play live and fake it. We really tried to put, Jamie Brown and Sebastian Paquette, who used to work for Korn for a while, film and edit these videos, and they did such a good job. Go on YouTube, type in KXM or with our names, and check out the videos. They're really fun.
They're great. I don't know how I watched all the videos and I was like, how does George he's playing what he played on that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does he doing that? What the hell?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he improvises a lot of his leads, and he even said there's a song called "Noises in the Sky," and there's a big ripping guitar part, and there's some things he missed, and he goes, "You got to show like a far shot of that because I'm not nailing every note because it was an improv, solo." So, but yeah, those guys are amazing, and I wish I had more time to do some shows and go open it up for fans, because it's the fans that do have it are like, dude, you guys got to play live, So hopefully that'll happen,
First show, Clearwater, man.
Hey,
Clearwater, Florida. There you go. You also have a Vic Firth drumstick that is a signature stick. Talk about like how that came together and how did you design that and all that?
Yeah, I've been. I was with another company for many years that I loved, and I've always been a fan of Vic Firth. And they approached me a few years back, and I said, "Yeah, but I designed a signature stick with this other company, and I really love it." And they're like, "Well, what if we make an even better one?" And I was like, "Now you're talking." So they offered me a signature stick right away, which is, they have legends upon legends on that roster. I'm very honored to be a part of it, let alone to have their own signature stick, So, and I'm a picky mofo with sticks. Let's face it, as a drummer, that's your tool. You're holding things, these objects, they've got to feel like homes. So I'm very picky about, we had to round off the butts because I hold my stick very low and palm my hand. The top acorn, Vic Firth has never done an acorn tip before. And they're like, would have to totally change the machine to do this. And I'm like, well, can you? Because I really love the acorn tip. So we did it. There's those drummers that are familiar with 5Bs. It's like a 5B towards taper, but we put a little bit more meat up top. So it's got a little bit more crack on the end of it. To me, it's a very well-balanced stick. Sorry, I'm talking too much without drinking water. It's a very well-balanced stick, and it's finally coming out to a lot of stores now. It started trickling out in the beginning. Now it's a lot of Guitar Centers, a lot of stores worldwide. And if not, you can order it on the vicperf.com site.
That's great. And just look up Ray Luzier, and his last name is spelled Luzier.
Yes.
Also, Ray is, in his free time, he's available. He's available for sessions.
Yes, it's between now and July. So
yeah. So hit him up if you're looking for like the most amazing drummer. And I'm going to actually give you an email address. Please do not be a dick and just start sending him emails about, yo, dude, I love your shit. Because he's busy just like all of us are. And you could use this email. It's loseear@aol.com. Again, yeah. loseear@aol.com. And please spell his last name correctly. It's Luzier, Luzier. And if you can't get the real thing, he's got some really cool loops that loads of people are using on their tracks. And if you go to platinumloops.com and enter Ray Luzier, he's got a hard rock tracks, he's got metal tracks, and he's got funk tracks. So you could have Ray without having Ray. Is that fair to say?
It's pretty bizarre when like some Brazilian they'll say like, you played on my record. I'm like, I never met you before. And then they see the track and I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
But it's really clever how some people are cutting up these tracks and they're being super creative with them. I'm blown away. And they say, can I use your name on there? I'm like, well, you can use my name, but you have to say that it's from Platinum Loops because obviously it's, I wasn't in a room with you coming up with these parts. So that gets a little bizarre sometimes, but it's really fascinating how people are doing this. I'm really excited, to hear what other people are going to do.
Very cool. And again, go to platinumloops.com and just enter Ray Luzier, Luzier, and talk about the last Jonathan Davis record called Black Labyrinth, which is it's a tremendous record. I saw the show. It was absolutely fantastic. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm finally glad this is out. John and I recorded a lot of those songs back in 2008, right after we got done with the 36 country tour
in 4.5 months.
In 4.5 months, Jonathan asked me. We took a couple months off, and he says, "Hey man, I'm going to do this solo record. Would you want to play some drums on it?" I'm like, absolutely. And he's like, at that time, Korn had a studio on Hollywood Boulevard in Western. It no longer exists, but it was a super cool studio. He's like, I want to get nutty, man. I have Shankar from Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins is playing violin. I have Miles Mosley, the upright bass player with Lauryn Hill that played a ton of other stuff. Zach Baird, who was the touring keyboard player, was on there. He had Wes Borland playing guitar. He had Shane Gibson, all these different random guitar players. And he goes, you got to be out of the box, man. We're going to play taiko drums, and I want you to think of some really unique beats, not just 2 and 4 and I'm like, dude, you got it. Like, let's have fun. And dude, we had such a blast playing that. And we did a bunch of songs, and then a couple of years goes by, and I'm like, John, what happened to those songs? He's like, I had a deal, I lost the deal, and I don't know, maybe I'll just release them online. I'm like, oh man, you're killing me. Those songs are so great. A couple more years goes by. I'm like, John, what happened to those tunes? And he's blasting them backstage at a show one day. I'm like, dude, this has to come out. The song "Basic Needs," which is now on the Chris Angel's sound. When you see the new Chris Angel show, "Basic Needs" from Jonathan Davis's record is the theme song.
Oh, very cool.
So I mean, all this stuff, and then finally Sumerian Records signed him, and we went in and recut some stuff. He re-sang some stuff, and we put it out. And man, I'm so proud of the record. It's really timeless stuff. I mean, it doesn't sound like some of those songs were 10 years ago because it's very now, So he asked me to put a band together for him, and I found he wanted violins, keys, guitar, and bass. So I found great people. Zeph Noyes, this violinist, was amazing. Sven Martin was a keyboardist, just phenomenal. I found Brian Allen and I have been friends for years. We've always been trying to play in bands together since the MI days. He's just a phenomenal player.
You met Brian at MI?
Yes.
Oh, we go way back. Because he came back. He taught there too.
Yep, he did.
Okay.
Yep. We were always joking about, man, we have to do something together. And so decades later,
that's a good story. I didn't know that.
And Chris Nix is just, I knew we wanted something that could play, someone that could play many different styles in different genres. And Chris is so weird because he plays left-handed already, so he's already unique,
A 7-string left-hand guitar.
Just out of control. But he's so great at picking what he doesn't have to I call it guitar masturbation to show off what he can do. He can play one chord or one rhythm and it blows you away. His timing is so impeccable and great. I knew he'd be great for this gig. As the year went on, John decided that let's narrow it down. Let's lose the keyboards and violin. Let's really just scale it down. So this last tour was just Brian, Chris Nix, and I, and John. And we had some tracks running underneath just to texture it. But we just had such a great time.
It was an amazing show, just so cool. And you mentioned Nix; he's just the sweetest guy, and he's just a great human being, really soulful, really genuine person. And you got a great team there, man.
Yeah, and again, like on a tour bus, when you do a lower budget tour, Korn travels really big. We have many buses and many trucks, and when you do a lower scale tour like this, it really takes special people. Yeah. To get on a tour bus with when you're all on one bus, so you don't want to wake up next to someone that has a bad attitude or you don't want to get dinner with, so having Brian and Chris was really, I wish it would have lasted a lot longer, the tour. So, but there still might be shows next year. John's talking about it. He's already talking about writing new material for the next Jonathan Davis solo record. So
that's so cool.
All good.
And your, another impressive thing about that tour was your merch guy, who's about 7 foot tall.
Bubba.
Oh my God. I saw that guy. I was scared to go back. I said, I'm a friend of, he was like, oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah. He's the sweetest guy. Looks very intimidating.
Very intimidating. Ray, I can't thank you enough for everything. I really appreciate all your time. I'm really glad I got to talk with you, man. And you're a really classy human being, and I wish nothing but the best for you. Anytime you want to come back here, any way I could support what you're doing, please let me know.
That means a lot. You've taken the time, and for your listeners to take all this time to listen to it.
Everybody will listen to this, believe me. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, share it with a friend on your social media channels. We appreciate your support with that. Thanks again to Ray Luzier for spending time with us. Please support everything Ray's doing. The Korn Coffee at Korn Web Store. The checkout. Look forward to the new Korn record. Please check out KXM. Great freaking band with Ray, George Lynch, and Doug Pinnick. If you're a drummer, check out Ray's Drumsticks of Vic Firth and platinumloops.com, or if you want to get sessions directly from Ray, it's LOSEEAR at AOL.com. And look forward to the new Jonathan Davis record and tour in 2019.
Sorry, my media pages too. On Instagram, it's Ray Luzier Korn, so all one word, RayLuzierKorn. On Instagram, Twitter is Ray Luzier 1, just the number 1, and Facebook is Ray Luzier Official.
Awesome. And also, if you are a family of an addict and you're looking for support, check out rebelforchange.com.
Rebel for a Change. Yeah.
Rebelforachange.com. .com or .org?
It's .com. And Instagram and Facebook and Twitter is all Rebel for a Change. Rebelforachange.com.
And same thing on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun, or your drums. Till next time, peace and love. Take care, brother. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.